Today, we are going to be talking about the 10 commandments of the soul-led business. All right, 10 commandments of the soul-led business. Number 1, let go of any idea about what you are supposed to create and learn to create from nothingness. Let go of any idea about what you are supposed to create and learn to create from nothingness. I want to talk about specifically why this is the first commandment of the 10 commandments of the soul-led business. And I want to get really into the nitty-gritty about how you actually use this awareness for business. All right. Let go of any idea about what you are supposed to create and learn to create from nothingness. The reason why this is the first of the 10 commandments of the soul-led business is because it has been truly integral to my awareness in learning to grow, learning to become a leader, learning to become a better business owner, learning to learn all the things when it comes to creating an online business. And I want to get really specific about what this means and what this doesn't mean. And this has been, for me, a really difficult line to master. But we have to remember one thing. In order to create from soul potential, 2 things need to be deeply developed in our system. The first is our ability to consistently reach beyond our current limitations. And the second is the ability to build skills as a human, which is a very complicated and complex conversation. What it means to not only do that, but what is the relationship of that in between our essence and our human experience? And that essence and human experience, that soul potential and that human vibration, or that soul capacity and that human vibration, really is about what I just mentioned: learning to create from nothingness and building the skill that is required to have strong foundations. And the reason for this is that there is an aspect of us always in action on a human vibrational level that wants to set it and forget it. And that's the subconscious, right? So we are naturally designed to just learn how to do things and then take what we've learned and put it into an automatic place in our system so that we can learn new things. Imagine if we were constantly having to learn how to walk over and over again or how to speak a language over and over again. That wouldn't serve us very well, right? So it's a good thing that we do that. But when it comes to creating from soul capacity, or what I have described as that, like that bank of potential, that like massive reservoir of your creative genius and potential, the difficult part from a soul-led business perspective is that there are aspects of us that learn what we learn and we think it's just supposed to be that way so that we can move on to develop a new skill. And so learning how to master this paradox is really powerful and important, especially when it comes to innovation, which is what I believe that souls are here to do, particularly in this timeline, particularly in the conversation that I'm here to have about what it means to create from soul potential. So it means that being attached to the way that we think we should do things won't really get us to the place where we are creating from our true and authentic gifts. But it also means that we need to develop really potent and strong foundation when it comes to building a business and stick to what works. Stick to what works and continue to iterate along the way. The reason why this is number 1 is because it's the most difficult, in my experience, to master. Let's talk about a different angle on this conversation as well. On a human level, the system becomes very flippant. The human system becomes very flippant, very, yeah, whatever, no big deal. I didn't want to do that anyways. When it comes to commitment, when you are attempting to connect to source information, if it is something that is not naturally developed in your system, specifically when it comes to business. Let me give you an example. So I know deep in my bones what I want to charge for an offer. I just know. How do I know? Because it keeps popping up. Because every time I think about the offer, that's the price that it is. But something happens in my field, right? The synchronistic field shows up, something happens. Maybe I made a decision that kind of fudged my ability to set myself up properly. I don't know how to write copy on the offer. I don't feel comfortable selling in this particular way. There's an edge, right? There's a limitation in me that is blocking my ability to just do the thing that I want to do. And so it's like that edge becomes the excuse for saying it's just not aligned. And because I am soul led, right? This is the story. This is a bit of the distortion. Because I am soul led, because I just create in flow, I'm just going to not do that and we'll move on to the next thing. I just go with what comes. I'm led by my life field. This is why it's the hardest to master, because it's very sneaky. And so the human system becomes very nonchalant, very no big deal. It's really easy for us to just say, I'm just not going to do that thing. It's not aligned. It's no longer aligned with me. And here's where the mastery part comes in. You have to be the one who truly knows. Are you avoiding building skills as a business owner and sticking to what works? Or are you truly iterating and doing the thing that is going to serve you best right now? So over the years, I've learned how to become stable in this knowing and hold both of these poles without flying off the rails. In the beginning of my business, and I'm going to share personal stories throughout this talk about ways that I've done this and ways that I still do this. But in the beginning, it was so easy for me to just be like, don't feel it, don't feel like it, not feeling it, and constantly like change and change. And in retrospect, I can see that the activity of that in my field was very useful in the alchemical process of me developing over time enough kind of like mistakes. Okay. When I say the word mistakes, like there's no judgment here, but enough kind of hiccups in my own system to realize, okay, it doesn't work for me to do that anymore. I wouldn't have known had I not gone through it, but this is the whole thing that I'm bringing up here in mentorship inside of this conversation, because I deeply, deeply, deeply know what this journey looks like. I deeply know what this journey looks like because I've been committed to creating from these 10 points that I'm sharing with you inside the 10 commandments of the soul-led business. And I've learned so much from that process. And so flying off the rails looks like constantly reinventing in yourself. And we see this all the time in spiritual circles. Constantly thinking that you need to break through to another level and using that reality to give you a pass on commitment. Now, everything I say here has a dimension of truth in it, and we're going to talk about that too. But let's just talk about where the opportunity lies, where the opportunity for skill lives. Constantly going through some dark night of the soul in order to do what feels best for you now, and then the next now, and the new now. Changing your mind and never really giving yourself the opportunity to watch what you create grow. Getting distracted with new inspirations. So, what does an integrated approach to this conversation actually look like? An integrated approach to this conversation looks like following the thread of what is alive for you while doubling down on the human business systems. This container is about business mentorship. So, within the context of this conversation, we're talking about mentorship. We're talking about business. We're talking about online business, or if it's brick and mortar business, it doesn't matter. Business trends change, marketing trends change. But when it comes to doing business, let's just reduce the conversation to what we know. Let's make it simple, super simple. We are selling a product or service for money. That's what everybody is doing who is in business. And I was thinking about this before I was going to come on and do the live. I was thinking about how some people say, "Oh, we should just return to a no money system. We should return to barter, where everybody's just doing what they're really good at and trading that for other goods. Like, you're really good at growing vegetables and I'm really good at making blankets, and this other person is really good at raising cattle, and the other person is really incredible at entertaining children. And because I need to go raise cattle and I have children, this other person, could we trade?" And the reality is, we're just bartering for cash. Nothing has changed. We just decided cash was the universal resource to barter with. And I just find this so comical that people can't think beyond the limitation in their system of why they have an issue with money. So it really is, always has been the same. And what's cool about that is that it comes down to natural gift. Like I just explained, you're really good at something, you have a special knack, and your complementary knack and skill and genius is an asset in my life because I have something else that I want to do. And I need to pull on different skill sets in order to prop myself up and have time and attention and focus and awareness to do what I'm going to do. What a cool thing, right? And so, in all conversations on business, if we want to take away all the BS, that is literally what's happening. It doesn't matter if there's money involved in or not. That's about service. That's about your genius. That's about who you are, what you like to do here on earth. What you like to do here on earth with the physical matter that you get to interact with. Super simple, right? So that's service. It's goods, it's service, whatever, however you want to explain it. And then the second thing that's happening is that we create what we're offering, right? So if I'm somebody who is incredible at weaving blankets, then I weave the blanket. We create what we offer. And then we need somebody to buy what we sell, right? Because I don't need 1,000 blankets for myself. I can only use 3. But that is my magic. And so I need to somehow let somebody know that I am so good at this weaving. And so if it's simply really about that, then it doesn't matter if we own a restaurant. It doesn't matter if we own a coaching business. It doesn't matter if we are offering services, if we're in the service industry, if we make food, products, whatever. Like, the way that I just described it is really just like all of the things are included in each of those scenarios. And in that conversation, what does it mean to create from nothingness? It means that when you stay in that place from a position of curiosity, from a position of this is my pure commitment. The nothingness really comes down to the truth that you have the power in any moment to create from the pure spark of your inspiration and genius with no limitation. It doesn't mean that you burn down your business. It doesn't mean that you have to disregard everything that you think and it also doesn't mean that you have to be attached to what you thought it was going to be last week from an inspiration perspective, right? Especially in the space of this online soul mentorship, coaching, service, like sharing knowledge, right? Selling knowledge, which is highly valuable, selling expertise, selling experience, highly valuable. When you sell those things, it helps other people fast track their personal growth journey. But at the same time, we have to have the strong business foundations that keep us grounded in that journey. So it could be something as simple as having an idea of for inspiration and then realizing that, oh, okay, I know how to run my business. And so I'm going to utilize this for marketing, right? Because I know that people need to know that I'm selling something in order to buy it, right? And if something that you're trying, if a marketing strategy that you're trying is not working, then you go back to the things that you know that work, right? The behaviors, the activities, the simple truth that you know that work, and you keep applying those to the inspiration to complement the inspiration and the genius so that you can create from this state of nothingness, meaning no attachment to that limitation inside of yourself. And the limitation can easily be connected to business skills, right? Perhaps the ideas are not the issue. So the more that you strengthen yourself in business foundations, the longer that you're committed to the game, over time, the more flexible you become and the easier it is for you to actually utilize and create from your soul potential. If anybody has questions about this, please let me know. Someone said, I totally relate as I prepare my assets to support a high ticket offer that's been in my bones for a long time. I'm so ready to stick to what I know is right in my system. And life gives me everything I need to keep evolving from my creations or evolving my creations from nothing. Exactly. So it's not nothing like you have nothing. I was stuck in this pattern a lot in the past. I told you I'd share some personal stories where I just felt like I had to get rid of everything and redo it. I spent the first couple of years of business like this. And let me talk to you specifically in the context of my programs. So I was running programs that were live programs. And by the time I was done with my programs, I would feel like I had already changed the way that I related to the content. And then because I was in the space of trying to understand this commandment, trying to understand this really unique position that I'm describing to you here, I would think, oh, that's old. Time to get rid of that and do the next thing, create something new. Because I can create from nothingness. I can create money from anywhere. Money can come to me from anywhere. Clients can come to me from anywhere. Ideas can come to me from anywhere. I'm always having new ideas. I'm somebody who's committed to creating from my genius some new spark of magic, universal wisdom dropping on me all the time. And it's time for me to redo the things. And I did this. And I would find myself in this place where over time I felt extremely dissatisfied. Like there was a part of me that was not honoring or truly seeing the entirety of the work. And I would find myself in a place at the end of the year because I always set year-long focused journeys, year-long goals of transformation. I'm working with these specific cycles, year-long cycles, monthly cycles, daily cycles. That's how I operate. And so I would get to the end of these year-long cycles and I would find myself in this position of, who am I? What do I even teach? What am I here to teach? And I realized after a couple of years of this that there was a limitation in me that wasn't committed to seeing the big picture. And the problem was actually that I was not, from an execution perspective, right? So from a business skill perspective, nothing to do with the soul inspiration or the commitment that I had to create from inspiration. I was all set on that one. I could get a new idea and whip it out in 3 days. But then there was the part, where did it go? How was I honoring that in the journey of the work? How was I offering that to people consistently in my world? Were there workbooks attached? Were there communities? I'm still developing this. And I realized that I wasn't teaching in a way that the content that I was creating was actually repeatable, right? That's an execution issue. That's a business logistics issue. That's what I mean by business foundations. So I had to do work around that. And this is still in development in my system. And I can say, after going through the process of kind of spending time in the creating from nothingness place, that the business foundations or the skill building aspect was the missing link in that integration, in that balance. And once I started to dig into that, everything else started to become more solid. And I have a lot more direction now about where I can keep growing the container to be what it needs to be to serve at the level that I desire to serve. I have a big vision and goals. I have a big dream, but I couldn't zoom out far enough to see all the aspects of that and how it works together. The reason why I wanted to get so specific on this is because I do not want anyone walking away from this 10 commandment to think that I'm saying that you should abandon your visions or your ideas consistently and not give them the time to see it through. But at the same time, I do think that you should be flexible, follow the threads of what is in your field, and build really strong business foundations. So let's talk about what works. Back to the description of what we are doing here: service, execution, clients, and marketing. Service is your product, service or product. Execution, clients, and marketing. When it comes to service and product, have a vision for the quality of product that you want to deliver. Do work on really getting clear on what that product is. If it's a digital product, if it's a teaching product, go through the process and really work through what it is that you want to deliver and how you want to deliver it. It could be that you have an idea. It could be that you have an outline. It could be that you have some of it worked out, but you can kind of go through and get more and more clear on what it is that you're going to deliver inside of that product, and really think about the experience that you want your clients to have. And when you do that, a lot more comes through. Inspiration about marketing comes through because you know how to talk about what it is that you're selling. It's like the blanket analogy. It's like beautiful blue and orange blanket made of the most exquisite silk fibers in the world, hand woven by me. When you put it on your body, it's going to be the softest thing you've ever experienced. It's going to feel like you're wrapped up in a blanket of luxury. I send it to you in a gold wrapped paper package with a tiny handwritten note and a card, and my brand is polished, and I've done the work to like, I know what color my business card is going to be. I know what my logo looks like. I know how to describe my work, my business, all of those things. Like, yes, this is a lot, but this is a journey over a lifetime, right? Soul-led business, if you are on this mission, this is the game that we're playing. And so understanding that these are all things that can be considered by you and can be dialed in by you. It only enhances not only your relationship to the content, how excited you are when you want to talk about it, when you want to sell it, and it bleeds into or leads into the execution aspect. Because once you have the vision for how incredible and magical the product is, the service is, and sometimes you don't know exactly how it is or what it's going to be like until somebody else puts it in their hands. Like, you have this beautiful blanket, you know how wonderful it is, but when somebody else tries it on and they say, "Oh my God, this is the best blanket I have ever touched in my entire life." And you're like, "I knew it." That's how I felt too. That's what it's done for me in my life. But I just needed to make sure, because I haven't, other people have to try it. Other people have to experience it. When that is the case, then you know that you have to be out there letting people try it, letting people touch it. Right? And so it's a relationship to the work that keeps on moving you forward. And it is important that you discover more about the experience that you want people to have through just having the experience of providing the service. So it's not to say that you need to figure everything out, but to have that point of intention in you to constantly, consistently be in relationship to that product, that service that you are here to action in the world. And then the second part is the execution. How will you deliver it? Have you thought through all the aspects of delivery? And like I said, again, this is an evolutionary process. This is why we get to become the caliber of creators that we get to become, but constantly, consistently being in the space where we're growing in that aspect too. And then people buy what we sell, right? So the clients and the marketing aspect, we know that right now in this timeline, social media is a very powerful platform. We know we have to be consistent. We know we have to be out there. We know that we need to connect with people, right? Somehow we need to let people know that we have something that we're really excited about and that we want to show up for in service to the world. And so there are a lot of different ways to do that. And it doesn't mean that you have to be a slave to socials. But what I'm talking about here is building strong business foundations, right? I'm talking about cutting out the BS that allows you to get in the place where you're building up that integrative bridge for you to stand upon and walk upon. If the style of marketing is not working for you, change it. Try new things, but be consistent. Don't make that the reason. Don't make the new thing the reason why you're not consistent. If you are feeling truly that a certain platform is better for you than the other, then double down on that, right? You have to rest upon what we know works. And what actually works really isn't like revolutionary, groundbreaking, or mysterious. A lot of people out there want to say things like, and I've seen this as a theme recently, and I believe in many ways aspects of this are true. But a lot of people are talking about making sure your messaging is on point, making sure that you have the perfect offers, making sure that you're using this platform versus that other platform, et cetera, et cetera. And it's just like, You can listen to a bazillion podcasts on marketing strategy. You can listen to a million podcasts on SEO. I do this all the time. I listen to a lot of business growth, online business content because I'm consistently exposing myself to that skill building aspect of my journey. And you start to hear it and it's always the same things, right? It's what works is being out there, being consistent, having the foundation set up, having a place for people to connect with you, get their email, sell, offer content, speak their language, so on and so forth, right? And so I wanted to make sure that during this talk that I introduced the commandment that I feel like is very spacious in its commitment in tandem with a conversation about business that is very grounded, pragmatic, focused, and true, real, raw truth, so that we can find our spot in between as the person who learns to master this 10 commandment. So I hope you really enjoyed this content, and I'm going to leave you with an exercise. Think of an example in either the service, the execution, or the client and marketing example. Think of an example of one of those areas in your business right now where you are feeling a little bit shaky, where you feel like you're not creating from your limitlessness. There's some limitation there. And work through your skills and your vision on both of those topics. This would just look like a journaling exercise, and maybe it's just for you to achieve more awareness inside of yourself that's going to give you guidance on some next steps. Schedule them out in your calendar. Make some movement. Making small movements on topics like these get us to really big places. I spent the last year moving through all of my courses, course by course, iterating, cleaning up the language, and I'm still not quite done yet. And it has taken me a long time, and I'm going to keep going. And every time I move through that, it's like another layer and level of authentic, like space for me to speak up and actually provide and serve becomes opened and more open and more open because the system is cleaner, because it's an easier journey to navigate. And these are tiny little actions. Like I said, put it on your calendar. It doesn't have to be overwhelming. Don't overload yourself with 100 things on a to-do list. I hope we have learned by this time that it's all about just continuing to move forward, sticking with small daily commitments. And as proof, we have seen how fast and how far we can come in very short amounts of times. Be relieved. Have faith, have no fear. But at the same time, let's go through and look at these things. Nothingness, the conversation around nothingness is I am never alone. I am always supported. I am always on the right path. I am always connecting to my clients. I'm always connecting to my genius. I am always building skill. I can create from my pure spark and inspiration. That's what creating from nothingness means. It doesn't mean that I need to go in and crash the entire client library and rebuild everything. That's what I used to think it means. Now, what I know that it means has a level of maturity in my system where I know who I am and I know what I'm here to teach. And I know that I have created incredible programs, incredible content, and I know that I am ready for more people to have access to them. And therefore, I am willing to do whatever it takes to grow into that person as a leader and as a business owner. No pressure, no force, no push. It's what I truly desire. And I also know in my bones what feels right for me. And this feels right for me. It's not an avoidance strategy. It's not a distraction to keep me from doing the things that I need to do. It's actually the thing that I know that I need to do. A distraction would look like creating something new right now. maybe in 6 months, it won't be that for me because I will have done the work that I need to get through, and then I'll have room to create more. Committing to this one of the 10 commandments will create a really strong internal structure in you that develops a conversation that becomes really powerful and grounded when it comes to business. And so you have to have it with yourself. You get to have it with yourself. It's an incredible opportunity. And I can say that going through it has taken me to places that I couldn't have imagined, which is also the creating from nothingness. And of course, led me forward exactly in the direction that I already knew I was going. So happy to see you all here, and I look forward to your comments and connecting with you next time. Bye.